Summer dress, flip-flops on, singing to that highway song. Got a little naive smile, the kind that drives you out. Nothing like playing with fire, brings boy to life. Be with the fuse you light, you're dynamite. You made my day when you walked and sat down beside me, whispered with your eyes, let's go. You made me say, what's your name, girl, you're lonely. Can I call you if I ever go down this road? And I can't seem to find the thing I want to say. Girl, you made my day. Back on nowhere to go, crank up the radio. No talking all night long, I'm writing you a song. You got the pedal down, can't help but laugh out loud. Two kids ain't going nowhere, it's fast without a care. You made my day when you walked and sat down beside me, whispered with your eyes, let's go. You made me say, what's your name, girl, you're lonely. Can I call you if I ever go down this road? And I can't seem to find the thing I want to say.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
14:20 in the morning, 14 minutes and 20 seconds worth of sports talk to get you through your daily commute. Hot takes, recaps, best bets, and a little humor to get your day going in the right direction. Sit back, grab your coffee, and let's get into it. All right, 14:20 in the morning for this April the 20th, 2023. Today's show and every show for this month is brought to you by Caldera Lab and calderalab.com. Use promo code 1420lab at calderalab.com to keep that youthful exuberance in your face. I have the Clean Slate face cleanser here and the base layer cream here. Fantastic. As you can see in my mug, keeping that youthful exuberance in my mug on a daily basis. Thank you to Caldera Lab for supporting the 1420 in the morning each and every day. Thank you for making us a part of your morning as well. Anyways, you hate to sound the alarms and set off the whistles and bells and all that stuff this early in a playoff series, but the Toronto Maple Leafs are definitely in a must-win situation for tonight's hockey game with the Tampa Bay Lightning. They are in a situation with their backs against the wall, all the cliches, Game 7, play it like it's a Game 7, all that stuff. The Toronto Maple Leafs are in a situation now. If they lose tonight, they're done. Their season will be over. Will they win a series if they win tonight? No. If they lose a series, will they lose a series tonight? If they lose, technically no, but yeah, they'll be out of it. They have to win 4 out of the next 5 games against a very good Tampa Bay team that still looks like they're in contention to do a little bit of damage. Maybe it's just a 1-game thing. Who knows what could happen? Maybe it's an overreaction morning before the whole bit before the game goes tonight. But the Toronto Maple Leafs looked as bad as you could look the other night, and it's set up with Leafs Nation a lot yesterday. You listen to the talking heads on TV, the podcast, you read a bunch of stuff, but it all makes a bunch of sense that this team is in a heap of trouble if they lose tonight. They were built to win since they drafted. They tanked in 2015 season. Then they went out and got Austin Matthews. They signed the big contract. He only took the 5-year deal. He's got a bridge deal to get more money later on, and he's only got 1 year left in that deal, I believe it is. You have a walking dead GM there with Kyle Dubas. He has no contract for next year. Coaches are pretty much dispensable. The Toronto Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment has a ton of money, so you never know what might happen to Sheldon Keefe, who did not have a good game the other night, and he looked bad post-game conference as well. But you have a Leafs team right now that was built to win, and they don't look like they're poised to do it. And they looked really bad the other night. They looked disinterested. They didn't have a whole bunch going on. The organization has a major problem right now, and I don't know what it is. is, and nobody can put a finger on it as why year in, year out, they get themselves into this situation where they can't win playoff rounds. They can't win series. This is a team that hasn't won a playoff round since 2004. We beat this to death. But tonight's hockey game just might be the most important hockey game in the last 30 years of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And that 30 years goes back to Doug Gilmour days, Felix Potvin in net, Wendell Clark playing his tough style. You had a great gritty team back then, and maybe that right there is what we're talking about. I know the game's a lot different than it was 30 years ago, but those Leaf teams back then were fantastic to watch. They played with grit, determination, and they were led by, like I said, the Doug Gilmours of the world. They had strong defense. They had a goaltender in net that came out of nowhere, a rookie kid by the name of Potvin. Like I mentioned, they had a good backup there as well, and they ran with the team, and they came out of nowhere and ended up in the Western Conference Finals. Ended up losing to Los Angeles Kings in '93 and then the Vancouver Canucks in '94. But this Leafs team right now, they're in a situation where this game tonight is the most important game in Leafs history, and in the last 30 years, maybe even more, considering they didn't win those games. So they lose tonight, they're done. They will not win this series. It's statistically, it's almost impossible when teams go down 2-0. They lose 86% of the series. So right there, it's just simple math with that. So the Leafs have to win tonight to have any hope. Will they win this series if they win tonight? No, but they have a situation right now that if they don't win, they are done. It's a game. It's Mr. Game 7. They got to go up for it tonight. Austin Matthews has to have the kind of series that or game that he's been paid to have. Regular season doesn't mean a thing in the National Hockey League. Yeah, you can stack your Hockey D page. You can get all the awards you want. You can get the Rocket Richard Trophy for your mantle, but nobody cares. Nobody cares about any of that stuff when it comes to the National Hockey League. You need to win championships. You need to win playoff rounds, and a team like Toronto has to come out tonight. And this first 5 minutes of this hockey game, if they give up a goal early tonight, turn out the lights and get the fat lady singing, because it's over. It will be over early. That Tampa Bay team, Corey Perry, you look at what he's been able to do at his age. He's an ex-Hart Trophy winner. He got 3 points the other night. He was a menace to society with the Leafs, a thorn in the Leafs side throughout the first game. He did it last year and did it the year before. Corey Perry's the kind of guy that you got to have on your team, not a John Tavares. I'm not a big John Tavares guy. They got him in 2018. Then last year they made him the captain, which I thought was a huge mistake. He isn't emotional enough. He's not good on the mic with the media. He made some really tough comments the other night after the game, saying that they're still learning. They're trying to find out ways to win, kind of blaming the officials a little bit. You can't be blaming the officials on the air. You can't be saying that you're still learning. This team is poised to win now. All those guys are making a lot of money, and you know what? The learning curve is over. It's time to show something. It's time to shut up and do something. John Tavares is not a captain, in my opinion. He's too mild-mannered and everything else. Now, I know I've said before, and you guys will at me and everything else on social media, that you shouldn't need a captain at this stage of the game in the National Hockey League. If you need a captain, you probably don't have a very good team, but you need a leadership kind of guy. Not so much a raw guy, but like a go and punch someone in the face and run somebody over kind of guy. The game's a little bit different now. You don't have the Eric Lindroses of the day doing that. The Jerome McGinless, who was fighting in the 04 playoffs when he was fighting Vinny Lecavalier. Now that's a captain. That's the kind of guy you want on your team. The Trevor Lindens of the world, those kind of captains. Excuse me. The guys that you you have John Tavares, he's not an emotional guy enough for me, and you see how the rest of the team kind of follows him behind that, where Austin Matthews, he does not look like he's an emotional kind of guy at all. He just isn't. He just doesn't really have that it factor, and you wonder if what his give a shit meter is throughout his entire career so far. He hasn't been a great playoff performer so far throughout his career, but what Leaf has in the last 40 fucking years. Oh, I'm swearing first thing in the morning. I'm a little revved up already. What Leaf player has been a leader in the last 30 years since they've only been in the playoffs? How many times? 0 since 04, right? So you can't really base anything on that. But I don't know if that Austin Matthews is the kind of guy, if they do end up losing this series and they do end up having a another first round bow out. Is Matthews out the door like maybe he wants anyways? Maybe the hard going, maybe everything that's in Toronto is not for him, and that's why he only signed that 5-year deal instead of going for the 8 or the 10-year deal or whatever the max year's contract could be. It just seems like there's a major problem with that franchise, and you wonder if just the team, the way it's built, every team says that they need a defenseman. They need this guy. They need a Cale Makar. Well, every team needs a Cale Makar. Every team needs a Scott Niedermayer. Every team needs a Chris Pronger. Every team needs that guy to lead. Morgan Riley, there's something wrong with him. He can't even shoot the puck, it seems, anymore. He's having a rough go of it lately for the last few months of the National Hockey League season. But the biggest thing that they have to have tonight, they need to have their big boys step up, do what they get paid to do, and score some goals and have a good first period. If they have a bad first period, you might, like I said, turn out the lights, it's over, and there won't be anybody left in the ACC. And I don't blame the fans in Toronto for leaving with 13 minutes left in the third period, the way that team played. It was an absolute stinker of a game on Tuesday night, and it was kind of gross. And the way the amount of money that people pay to go to hockey games, that's what they were given. That was an absolute brutal performance from a man, from the coaching staff to the management staff, to the players, to the goaltender. Hell, I'll even blame the stick boy. Why not? The Leafs have to come out, crash, bang, do something, be physical, be engaged throughout the entire game. If they don't get a save from Samsonov, I don't know what you do. I don't know what you do. If you don't get any goaltending, I don't know what they are going to do. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. I'll say it the day I die. You show me a good goalie, I'll show you a good coach. And if they don't get good goaltending tonight, it is over. They can't be giving up leads of 3-0. They cannot be doing that. You look at that team, the way they just folded like a cheap lawn chair, Eden McNeil on a lawn chair. It was brutal the other night that they don't get the goaltending that they need to win a game. That he's not going to be as good as Vasilevsky, but he has to match him. He just has to match him save for save. Stop all the easy ones, a few of the hard ones, give your team a chance to win. But if the Leafs don't get that tonight, it's over. The series will be over. It'll be over in 4 or 5. That team doesn't seem to have the grit. They could prove me wrong. They could prove me wrong in 12 hours from now. The game will be in the third period. It could be 5-2 Leafs, and I hope it is. I hope the Leafs have a chance, because I'm a Leafs guy through and through. Been a Leafs fan since I can remember. There's a picture of the year my brother was born. I'm wearing a little Leafs zip up hoodie. So that's since 1979, 1980, whatever year it was. So I've been pining for a Leafs victory for a long time. I just don't see how they're going to do it. It's the team that looked that disengaged in game one. I don't know how they're going to come about and put together a different game tonight. The good thing about the Stanley Cup playoffs is you do get a second chance for a first impression. You can lose 8-0 or 10-0 in the first game and come back and win the next game 2-1. You can win in double overtime tonight. You don't know. If they lose in double overtime tonight, maybe they have something, but it's a real tough go in the Stanley Cup playoffs, because momentum is such a big thing. But momentum only lasts for one night. The Leafs can put together a good game plan tonight and have a better game plan than they had, that they've been planning since January. How they had that much of a stinker since January. They know they've been playing Tampa since the middle of January. Everybody's known what that playoff match was going to be, and how they came up with zero game plan and zero pushback and zero fight against that Tampa team is beyond me. I understand that Kucherov is great. I understand that Stamkos is great. I understand that Vasilevsky is the guy, but Toronto is paying these guys to be just as good or better, right? And John Tavares has to be the leader that he's paid to be on a nightly basis, and it's got to be something that they need to do early and often, and not give up a quick goal. And they have to find a way to battle through some adversity for the first time in most of these guys' careers. And it's the pressure's on this Leafs team to actually do something. The pressure is on this team, not just in Toronto, but right across the country for Leafs fans. There's people that have been wanting to see something happen. There were people, including me on this show, that said the Leafs were going to win a round and hope they had a chance to maybe win a Stanley Cup. When I had Captain Lou on the other night on last call, he thought the Leafs were going to, and he's a Detroit guy. He thought that they had a chance to win the Cup this year, and lose a hockey guy. He knows his stuff, and maybe we all got fooled. And but we'll see what happens 12 hours from now. Like I said, it could be 5-2 Leafs. It could be they could be planning the parade back up again, but once again, they got to play it like a game 7 tonight in Toronto. Have a great game, and hopefully they can pull something off, because I think it's no matter if you like the Leafs or hate the Leafs, hockey's better throughout Canada when the Leafs are relevant, because nothing draws two people together like the hatred of a third. And when the Leafs are on TV, and if the Leafs are winning, people hate it, and more people will watch. And that's just the way hockey goes. There was jerseys out, there was people wearing their jerseys around Lethbridge, at the bars, at the pubs, and people actually are Leafs fans fans. They want to see something win. They want to see a better effort. Otherwise, you might see some jerseys getting burnt throughout Canada in the coming days and hours. I won't even watch games 3 and 4 in Tampa that are coming up. But anyways, there's my rant for the day for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Go Leafs, go. Hopefully they get a shot. Remember, the show is brought to you by Caldera Labs and calderalab.com. Use promo code 1420 lab for 20% off their men's skincare products, like the Clean Slate, like I have here in my hand. I just show our friends up on YouTube and Facebook Live. Thank you for those watching, and later on YouTube on our channel. Anyways, on this day, what do we got today, folks? On this day in 1988, the Baltimore Orioles set the record for worst start of the season at an 0-14 with an 8-6 loss to the Milwaukee Brewers in front of a whopping 7,284 fans at County Stadium in Milwaukee. They actually ended up with an 0-21 start before finally beating the Chicago White Sox. The Orioles would finish the season with 54-107, good for last place in the American League East. Could you imagine starting the season off 0-21? That's a pretty tough go. Speaking of bad baseball teams, it was brought up last night late that the Oakland A's have secured some land in Vegas, so it looks like that their tenure in the Oakland Alameda Coliseum and that their time in California is coming to an end finally, and that saga is coming. It's sad to see, and we talked about on our show the other night that it's time. It's just time for the A's to leave, and that's just the way it is. And it is a sad thing because it was a once proud franchise, and it's sad to see that they're finally leaving, and they couldn't get a deal done in Oakland. The owners didn't want to get a deal done in Oakland is the biggest thing. Anyways, and happy birthday to, who do we got today? Happy birthday to Don Mattingly. Donnie Baseball turned 62 years young today. He must use Caldera Lab products. He's got that youthful exuberance in his face. Anyways, born in Evansville, Indiana, one of the greatest Yankees ever. Had his number 23 retired and a plaque in Monument Park. Played for 14 years in the big leagues, all for the New York Yankees, hitting .307, 222 RBI or home runs, 1,087 RBIs, 6 times All-Stars, MVP in '85, 9 times Gold Glover, and is currently a bench coach with the Toronto Blue Jays. One of the all-time greats, and when your name is Donnie Baseball, you're something else. You're part of the baseball lore. There's no getting around that. And one of the best videos that I've seen of him was that one where there was a foul ball in the Bronx. The kid went over his shoulder, and he went and took some popcorn out of the kid's box. The kid turned around, was just in awe. But happy birthday to Donnie Baseball, one of the greatest Yankees ever. I got some Donnie Baseball stuff down here. Actually, I should bring it out. I should have brought it out for his birthday wishes today. But anyways, go Leafs, go tonight. We don't know what's going to happen. I hope it's a better effort at least than they showed the other night. I hope it's an entertaining hockey game. We'll see what happens. Congratulations to the man. That Kings team isn't going to go away easily. McDavid hasn't been much. The Draisaitl was really good for the Oilers last night. Big win for the Oilers last night, tying that one up 1-1. Got a playoff's been great so far. Boston lost last night, which is always a good thing. That Carolina Islanders game, that ended up in a screwy thing. The refereeing, I'll have shaky on. Maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow. But the refereeing in the playoffs has been absolutely atrocious so far. I don't know what you do. The game moves so fast. These guys are so good, but the refereeing has to get better one way or another. And you hate to see games getting decided. I know you shouldn't leave a game in an official's hand, but the refereeing has not been good in the playoffs thus far. And hopefully it doesn't hurt a hockey game tonight. Anyways, Leafs, play like Game 7 tonight. Go Leafs, go, and we will talk to you guys tomorrow. And remember, it doesn't matter who you are or where you are. It's who you're with. Have a good day, folks. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
You just listened to the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. 4 beer with sports talk and a whole lot more. We are part of the Belly Up Media Network.